Okay, welcome everyone to the start of what will probably be a very long series. We have the Stewart Calculus textbook, 8th edition. This is Chapter 1, Section 1, and Problem 1. So we are starting right at the very beginning. And we are going to do this one problem at a time. So, Problem 1 says, if f of x equals x plus the square root of 2 minus x, and g of u equals u plus the square root of 2 minus u, then is it true that f equals g? Well, let's go ahead and try. So one of the first things that we can do, just to check at least, just to check and see if they are not the same function, we can plug in 1. So let's just plug in some random number, 1. And let's see. Well, if we plug in a 1 for f of x, let's see. F of 1 equal to 1 plus the square root of 2 minus 1, which that gives us 1 plus the square root of 1, which is equal to 1 plus 1, and that ends up just giving us 2. So what if we do that with g? Well, g of 1, that's equal to 1 plus the square root of 2 minus 1, and that gives us 1 plus the square root of 1, which is also just 2. So, well, we can't rule out immediately that it's not true, so we have to do some more steps. And the second thing that we can do is if we take function f and function g, these two up at the top here, and suppose we stack them on top of each other, then we can compare the variables, the constants, and some of the signs a little bit more closely. So let's see. F, that will be x plus the square root of 2 minus x. G is going to be u plus the square root of 2 minus u. Okay, and what we can see here, we can see that we have variable u and variable x. Okay, well, let's check first. Do our variables line up? Well, x and u, yep, those line up. The signs line up. We have plus and plus. We also have a square root. The constant under the square root is the same. So is the sign, and so are those two variables. So that's a promising sign that these are probably the same function. But there's one last test that we can do also. Is we can see if we can put in a number to or a variable in a way to turn one function into another. So what do I mean by that? I mean, let's take the function g of u equals u plus the square root of 2 minus u. Now let's plug in x. So g of x is going to be equal to x plus the square root of 2 minus x. Well, let's just take a look really quick. This here looks very, very, very similar, if not identical, right, to f of x, where it says f of x equals x plus the square root of 2 minus x. Here we have g of x equals x plus the square root of 2 minus x. So, after doing all of these tests, we can definitely conclude that the function f is equal to the function g. And this is a true statement. Of course, if you wanted to do a shortcut and you had access to the internet, you could just go onto Desmos, that online graphing website, and you could just plug in the functions f and g and see if they line up exactly. Now, just as a very quick disclaimer, or at least something that I want to reiterate. At the beginning here, when I talked about plugging in 1, we got the same answer. We did get 2 for both of these functions. However, that alone does not prove that the functions are identical. All it shows is that they share at least 1 point, at 1. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. The only reason we did that is because if I plug in 1 and I get different answers between F and G, then we don't need to do any more work. We can just say, no, it is not true. They are not the same. So that's just the one caveat to it all. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and I look forward to continuing through the book with more problems.